Come see us on tour in Cohoes, New York, Los Angeles, Bakersfield, San Jose, Buffalo, Toledo, Montreal, and Toronto. Go to jimmydore.com for the cheapest tickets.
We're talking about the impact of Trump imposing global tariffs with James Galbraith. He is an economist and professor at the University of Texas, Austin, author of many books, including his latest, Entropy Economics, The Living Basis of Value and Production. Now, while there are many Wall Street analysts and economists that have been critical of Trump's tariffs, he has gotten support from some workers, and they were among the crowd at the White House for Trump's so-called Liberation Day announcement. A group of auto workers were there at the White House, and one of them spoke alongside Trump.
100%. So, Mr. President, we can't thank you enough. And in 6 months or a year, we're going to begin to see the benefits. I can't wait to see what's happening 3 or 4 years down the road. Thank you, Mr. President.
So that's a clip from the White House announcement where Trump enacted the executive orders imposing global tariffs. And you see there a contingent of auto workers saying that, yes, there might be some short-term pain right now, but within 6 to 12 months, this is really going to help us. So, James Galbraith, can you respond to that? This is not just...
there's no doubt they're speaking to their interest. One can't fault them for being happy with getting a protective barrier against a body of imports that have been undercutting them for a long period of time, for sure. No question about that. But the question is, for the larger question I would ask is, if we're going to see a significant decline in imported automobiles, are we going to see a corresponding increase in high quality American automobile production? That is, again, an open question. That's the question I would focus on. I don't know that I think we will see some. I think also I should have added here that the position of the European producers is even weaker, and they are almost surely going to accelerate the movement of European factories to the United States. So we'll see some of that for sure. And I don't, I'm not saying this isn't going to work in the interests of some segments of the economy.
And what do you make of the critique that basically whatever Trump might be doing wrong here, at least he's doing something, whereas Democrats have talked about, or some Democrats like Bernie's an independent, but Bernie is an independent on the Democratic side, and Barack Obama, they've criticized these so-called free trade deals, but they've done nothing about them, including Obama when he was in office. I mean, here, for example, is David Sirota pointing out that some workers are applauding Trump's tariffs. Neither Democrats nor elite media seem interested in exploring the other side of the tariff debate. And he quotes Sean Fain, the head of UAW, saying, "We applaud the Trump administration for stepping up to end the free trade disaster that has devastated working class communities." And here's Bernie Sanders back in 2008. And listen to what he said about the impact of these so-called free trade deals on the working class.
Further, what they have said is that we need to not worry about manufacturing in America, because what we should establish is a policy of unfettered free trade. We don't need tariffs. What we need is to allow corporate America the freedom to throw American workers out on the street, people who are making 15, 20, 25 bucks an hour, healthcare, pensions, throw them out on the street, because somehow, Madam President, we are going to create wealth in America and good paying jobs in America as we shut down plants, we move to China, corporations there pay workers 20, 30 cents an hour, and we bring the product back into this country. And anyone who goes shopping in a mall knows how difficult it is today to find the product made in America. But that is the philosophy. And I have to say, in that regard, the champion, and he is honest on this one. Senator McCain has been criticized recently for not being the most honest candidate we have seen in terms of his ads and so forth. He has been honest on this one. He is the lead advocate of unfettered free trade. And
here's Barack Obama the same year, 2008.
We can't keep passing unfair trade deals like NAFTA that put special interests over workers' interests. And it's because of this long-standing commitment to working families that I will not sign any trade agreement as president that does not have protections for our environment and protections for American workers.
NAFTA needs to be amended. And I've already said that I would contact the President of Mexico and the Prime Minister of Canada to make sure that the labor and environmental agreements are actually enforceable in the same way that patent protections and other things that are important to corporate America are enforceable.
So what would you say, James Galbraith, that someone who might look at this and say, well, Democrats have been talking a big game for a long time, but have done very little about it. Here is Trump finally coming along and doing what progressive voices have been promising to do for a very, very long time and wanting to do for a very long time.
No, that's entirely true. They again, I was working for the Congress at the start of this, which predates NAFTA by well over a decade, in the late 70s and early 80s with the so-called Reagan Revolution and Paul Volcker's shock to the dollar, which devastated the American industrial base in the recession of 1981 and 82. The point I would make is we're a long way from that. It is not simply it's not simply a question of putting up a trade barrier and then saying it's all going to get better very quickly. You can set the conditions where it might start to get better, but it's very likely that the same American corporations who rapaciously outsourced and deindustrialized are going to look for the easiest way to make a few dollars off of the tariffs without producing the great expansion of industrial capacity, which it has been lost and which may be at least very slow to return, if it's possible to bring it back at all, remembering that to do this successfully, you probably need larger markets than just the United States. You need to be competitive in the world. And out there in the world, the situation has changed dramatically. In the 1980s, China was not an industrial power with any significant presence in the world, and it's now the world's largest industrial economy with, high, very cost-effective products and very great market access around the world. So we are re-entering. If we are truly re-entering the race at this point, we have two great disadvantages. One is that we have a serious competitor on a scale that we didn't have before. And the other is that we are trying to do this with one tool, which is to say the tariffs, and not with any of the other tools that would be required to map out a plan for effective reindustrialization. So that makes me not very optimistic. If you think you're just going to set up a tariff wall and then the market will fix everything else, then you're basically handing the initiative to, let's say, people who are not going to execute. And that's the point I would make. So I'm not disagreeing with the position that Bernie Sanders just described. I'm not disagreeing with the happiness of the auto workers. So there obviously are still significant interests and workers' interests in this country that will benefit from the tariffs. That's clear enough. But that's only a very small part of what this project is supposedly setting out to achieve.
And just very briefly, as we wrap, if you were advising President Trump, what other tools would you be advising him to use to achieve the goals that he says he wants, which is to, rescue American jobs,
I think
raise
you
standards
need
of living?
an effectively functioning federal government, an effectively functioning federal government with the expertise to give you advice over a wide range of industrial and other areas. And to understand what you are doing to the financial sector and to be prepared to cope with that. And so far as I can tell, judging from, among other things, the clips you've just been playing, that's precisely what it doesn't have. And they've set out, in a sense, to further degrade the government, which was already deeply degraded from the time of Bill Clinton, but especially the time of George W. Bush onward, even earlier. And so the capacity of the federal government to be a partner and an effective force for a major economic strategy is not there as it was in the 1930s and the 1940s, when Roosevelt came in with the New Deal and then built up the country in such a way that it could provide the armaments necessary for basically all the combatants on the Allied side to prosecute the Second World War. We don't. You can imagine, if you go back and look at that history, the government was deeply involved at every level of the transformation that was required. It didn't just call on the private sector to go do it. And that's the concern I have. I don't think we have that capacity anymore. I don't think we even have a consciousness of the need for that capacity.
James Galbraith, author, professor of economics at the University of Texas, Austin. His latest book is Entropy Economics, the Living Basis of Value and Production. James Galbraith, thank you so much for joining us today on the Jimmy Dore Show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Come see us on tour in Cohoes, New York, Los Angeles, Bakersfield, San Jose, Buffalo, Toledo, Montreal, and Toronto. Go to jimmydore.com for the cheapest tickets.